you know what? I think Quebecers have a knee-jerk reaction to expect the worst from ice storms, because if you live through that big one, you know how damaging they can be. You would think that after not just that big one, we've had other kind of smaller but still damaging ones in the intervening years, that this would be old hat to us. Here to tell us whether he thinks Quebec is actually well prepared for a freezing rain emergency, we welcome Michel Doré, Associate Professor at UQAM and a former Associate Deputy Minister at the Ministère de la Sécurité, publique du Québec. Michel Doré, welcome to CJAD.
Thank you.
In your opinion, is Quebec well positioned to cope with freezing rain?
I believe we have evolved quite a lot since not only the ice storm wave experienced in 1998, but we had another major one in the Montreal area back in the 1960s. So Montreal has been exposed to significant ice storms and the associated consequences, such as the power outages, the telecommunication breakdowns, and some logistical issues, such as the fuel and the money. But we're far better today than we were in those eras.
I remember at the time, immediately after the big ice storm of 98, that Hydro-Quebec came out and said it would be reinforcing a certain number of its pylons, the big transmission towers, reinforcing them to stop that situation that they saw on the South Shore in the Dark Triangle, where if one went down, it tore down all the others because, they were all vulnerable. So it was going to go and reinforce a certain, like every 5 or something like that, so you wouldn't see that problem. What else has been done since then that you feel has made a difference?
Well, from Hydro-Quebec, have done tremendous efforts, not only in controlling the vegetation around the lanes, but more importantly, they have created buckles in the transportation network. Before that, there were no alternate routes to bring the electricity when a major line was down. So obviously, buckling the network is a way so that we can contour the problem in another direction, so we could still provide energy in the affected areas. The anti-cascade pylons you were referring about just minutes ago is the installation of these robust anti-cascade pylons, one every 5 in the major lane, reduces the damages if ever there's a breakdown on one of those lanes. And obviously, because it reduces the damages, it facilitates the repair and obviously shorten the duration of the outages. But beyond that, society has grown more resilient. We know more. We know better. Obviously, those who are new to this environment are just recently with us, never experienced winter, could adopt maybe dangerous behavior, such as using combustible heating or cooking devices in the homes that account for carbon monoxide poisoning. So that's something that we know better now than ever, and there's more public health notification and communication about that. And there's, I would believe, a better balance in the responsibilities between the population, between this municipalities and the government. So we're not all looking towards municipalities and government to take care of ourselves. We do take care of ourselves much better today than we were before.
Some people use the word trauma to describe what the population went through, especially in the hard-hit areas in the Dark Triangle on the South Shore. But even, out in Pierrefonds, we were out for 5 days. I could tell you that was traumatic enough for me. I had a newborn baby, 6 months old. We were just ready to go into a shelter after 5 days because we just couldn't keep our house warm anymore when the lights came back on for us. So we didn't in the end, but we still do have this reaction. I think so many of us, when we hear freezing rain in the forecast, will we ever get over that? Will we ever accept that we're better prepared now?
It's a matter of individual and collective awareness to a certain degree because of the high reliability of our electricity provider of Hydro-Quebec. We somehow lost the feeling, the awareness that we could suffer power outages for more than an hour or so. Obviously, the 1998 ice storm has been an eye-opener for many. But since then, we had summer storms, we had other ice storms, we had other power failures that were of significance. And as a reminder, the power failure is just an immediate aftermath of a natural hazard. And I'm talking about natural disasters or natural hazard because they have this capacity of affecting large areas simultaneously. And due to wind, to earthquake, to the weight of ice, it creates damages to the power grid, and therefore create the outages, the power outages that makes us suffer a bit more. On the trauma, it is a traumatic event. Some people have experienced very significant losses. Let's remember that there were fatalities back in 1998. Let's hope that this time there's none. But we know better. The weather forecasts are more precise. The public interest messages are clearer with more straightforward expectations, and people comply better. We've seen it with the traffic today, and I would say proactive decisions of closing the schools or asking the employees to work remotely. These are all signs that, as a society, we've evolved.
And so you approved of schools being canceled, of businesses saying, oh, it'll be a work from home day. You feel that was prudent given the forecast that was issued?
Yes. And let's take the reverse scenario, that we would overlook the advice. We would keep the schools open, and people would still be required by their employer to show up at work. And the worst happened. And then trauma is worse because families are rushing to try to access the schools to get their kids back home with all the uncertainties associated with traffic, more accident, more risks for the kids, for us, for the user of our roads. So all that together, if you balance the inconveniences, it's far better off being prudent in the way that we manage these hazards when we see them coming. And let's remember, there are many other disasters that affects us for which we don't have warnings. And that could be a chemical accident, that could be an earthquake. And in those circumstances, without warning, we would all be challenged by the fact that we want to have our family together, we want to go to a safe place, we're worried about the fact that we don't know where our kids are, if they're back to school or back from work. This in itself is a level of stress or anxiety that we all hope not to get through.
Very interesting interview. Michel Doré, thank you very much for your time.
Great pleasure.
Canadian women are looking for more out of themselves, their businesses, their elected leaders, and the world around them.
And that's why we're thrilled to introduce the Honest Talk podcast.
I'm Jennifer Stewart.
And I'm Catherine Clark. And in this podcast, we interview Canada's most inspiring women.
Entrepreneurs, artists, athletes, politicians, and newsmakers, all at different stages of their journey.
So if you're looking to connect, then we hope you'll join us.
Listen to the Honest Talk podcast on iHeartRadio or wherever you listen to your podcasts.